Huh? Yeah, we'll do that. All right, you can take it back. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our October already, 7th, 2024 council meeting. Before we get to invocation, I want to have a moment of silence for our Western North Carolina and Georgia friends, South Carolina friends that have been through such a devastation. So I'd appreciate a moment of silence for them. Thank you. And we're honored tonight to have Chris Hill, the pastor of Eastside Baptist, to lead our invocation. Good evening, sir.
Let's pray. Lord, we're grateful for the opportunity to serve you and to live in this city. We're thankful for our mayor and for our council members and their care for us and for our city. Lord, we pray that you would bless this meeting. You would bless them, give them discernment and wisdom and all these things. Lord, we know that they have the best interest for us. So Lord, I pray that you would help our community to rally around them what they have for us. Lord, I also ask that you would be with Chief McKinney and Chief Wellens and the work they're doing for the disaster relief. You'd keep them safe. And you would bless what our city is trying to do to help those that are in great need. Lord, I pray that you would bless everything that takes place tonight, that you will receive glory and honor for it. We love you. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, sir. Well, we have no public comments tonight, which means everything's great. So thank y'all. We're moving to my honor to recognize employees and people in the community and stuff. And our own Chuck Smith, where's Chuck at? Stand up, please. Our Mebane Public Works Director, Chuck Smith, was elected to serve as a director of the North American NC American Public Works Association Facilities and Ground Committee, which is fantastic. Thank you. Their mission is to engage the public works community and citizens through support, education, advocacy, and outreach by creating opportunities for training, accountability, networking, and growth for the benefit of all. So congratulations, Chuck. Very proud of you.
Thank you, Chuck.
All right, we're moving on to consent agenda. The first is approval of minutes on September 9th, 2024. Voluntary contiguous annexation petition, Tanner Built Homes Mill Run, American Rescue Plan Grant Ordinance Amendment and Budget Ordinance Amendment, and then the Budget Ordinance Amendment carry forward. Any comments from the council on any of these items?
Make a motion to approve them as outlined.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, getting into the public hearing, the first one is the amendment to a special use permit, quasi judicial. So those that are speaking, please come up and be sworn in. And thank you. Ashley Omby, our development director, will be starting the public hearing.
Good evening. Before you is a request by the property owner of 5004 Mrs. White Lane, Donna Hester, to amend a special use permit that was approved in 2018 for a property that's just under 1.5 acres. It is currently zoned R20, and the type of daycare facility that operates there now required a special use permit, and the increase in clients requires an amendment to that permit. So currently, the site serves up to 12 children as allowed by the original special use permit. The amended version would allow up to 30 children. With a special use permit request, there are 4 findings that the applicant has the burden of proving, and that is that the use will not have a harmful effect on the public health or safety, will not harm adjoining property values, will be in harmony with the surrounding area, and will also be consistent with the city's adopted long-range plans. As you can see on the zoning map, most of the surrounding property is zoned R20. There is some R12 zoned property to the south, and all of these properties allow for residential uses and a few special uses such as childcare center. The site is located in our extraterritorial jurisdiction in Alamance County. There are no city utilities that currently serve the site, and none are available to serve the site. It is served by septic and also Orange Alamance Water. There is an existing daycare inside the single-family residence that's on the property. Surrounding uses include single-family residential homes, vacant land, and also forested land. It is located in the secondary growth strategy area as identified by Mebane by Design, or Comprehensive Land Development Plan, and this growth strategy area does support both residential and commercial uses. As required by our ordinance, a site-specific plan was included with a special use request, and it is a survey of the existing property. There are no substantial changes proposed to the exterior or to the site. There would be some renovations required to the interior of the building if Ms. Hester goes through with all the state licensing requirements. The existing conditions include a variable width driveway that also has a driveway loop to accommodate drop-off and pickup traffic. There's an adequate play area with fencing that meets our ordinance requirements, and there's parking proposed to accommodate the clients and the staff. Additional improvements and permits are likely to be required by other city departments and also by the state for the expansion of the child care center. Unless you have any questions for me, I'll invite the applicant forward.
Okay. Good evening.
Evening.
Special use permit findings. Sorry, we are Donna and Bart Hester with Brighter Beginnings Child Care. I'm a little nervous, so sorry. Expanding the facility will not materially endanger the.
Get closer to Mike so we,
I knew that. Sorry.
yeah.
Expanding the facility will not materially endanger the public health or safety. Expanding the facility will not substantially injure the value of adjoining or abutting properties. Expanding the facility will be in harmony with the area in which it is located. And expanding the facility will be in general conformity with the land use plan or other plans and policies officially adopted by the City Council. And this is the permit that we were given from the Alamance Health Department Environmental Services that gave us the go-ahead to expand. And we are a 5-star daycare, and this is our certificate that you see here. The site plan shows points of access, the pattern of internal circulation, and loading, unloading, and location of outdoor play area. And the use is not operated after 7 p.m. or before 6 a.m. The site has access to a collector street. The use complies with the state licensing requirements. Our daycare center is proud to feature an outdoor learning environment, which was granted after completing a required course at North Carolina State University. On June 29th, we were recognized for receiving the OLE grant. The outdoor learning environment enriches our child's educational experience. And these are photos of the outdoor learning environment, which we were given a grant for. The mud kitchen that you see, the chalkboard, of course, plant and garden, and we harvest the food and eat it during lunch hour. And this is the backyard that's also fenced in to keep them protected as well. A minimum of 1,200 square feet outdoor play area that is surrounded by a sturdy fence, measuring at minimum 4 feet high as required for a state license. The play area is surrounded by a sturdy fence at least 4 feet in height, and the use is screened from surrounding residential properties. My vision as a childcare provider is to provide a safe, secure, and challenging learning environment that consistently develops a sense of responsibility and respect for the learning process and those involved. And we at Brighter Beginnings Childcare appreciate your time and your consideration.
Thank you. Thank you. Council, have any questions?
There was an appraisal in the documents, and that's one of the requirements. Could you just go back to that briefly and just highlight that appraisal, just for completeness? There we go.
Hi, I'm Glenn Patterson, Patterson Appraisals. Not an appraisal, but just an analysis of
Correct.
whether it harms abutting properties. And no, given where, especially where it sits, and there's nothing really around it. So
Just wanted to have that stated.
Just curious.
Question?
Yeah, I'm just curious. I guess, does anything need to be changing the facility, going to more children there?
Yes, the only thing
Yeah.
that, sorry, the only thing that we would need to change is 2 of the bedrooms will be converted into classrooms. Other than that, we operate out of the facility every day, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, from 7:00 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. So the only thing that will change is the bedrooms to classrooms.
Awesome. Thank you.
Any other questions? It is a public hearing. Does anybody in the audience like to speak? Hmm? Yeah. If they were sworn in. All right, if not,
I move we close public hearing.
we got a motion,
Second.
got a second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the public hearing is closed.
A motion to approve the special use permit as presented, and motion to find that the request is both reasonable and in the public interest because it has been found that the request, A, will not materially endanger the public's health or safety, B, will not substantially injure the value of adjoining or abutting property, C, will be in harmony with the area in which it is located, and D, will be in conformity with the land development plan or other plans officially adopted by the Mebane City Council.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If
Know
not,
what you're doing for our city.
Yes.
Thank
Seems like you're
you.
doing
I
fine work.
appreciate that. Thank you.
if not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Very well done. All right, public hearing, 5B and C will be combined and we'll vote separately. The ordinance to extend the corporate limits, voluntary non-contiguous annexation, Deborah Hawkins, Rock Quarry Road. Mr. Brown, our city attorney.
Mayor, if someone will make a motion to combine these 2 hearings, it would be appropriate.
I make a motion that we combine items B and C under our public hearing.
Good. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries.
Council, you typically combine these. This property is not in the extraterritorial jurisdiction of the city. So in order to take action on it, it must be annexed. Typically, you segregate your votes, as the mayor has indicated, and you do not consider C unless, of course, you annex under B. But all of it will be heard together after Ms. Owenby and the applicant speak. You accepted the certificate of sufficiency of the clerk last month for the annexation of this property, and it is a non-contiguous annexation, and the acreage of 15.7 acres is shown on the plat before you, is what is under consideration, and it is staff's recommendation that this property be annexed. But it is a public hearing, and you will hear from the applicant and perhaps others.
Good evening again. As Mr. Brown stated, there is a rezoning request associated with the annexation petition. This is for a general rezoning, so there's not a site-specific plan attached to this request. You will see on your agenda that there is a subsequent item for a special use permit for development of this property. This site is located on the corners of West End Road and Rock Quarry Road, and the request is being made by Steve Hubrick. It is a nearly 16-acre parcel that is currently zoned by Orange County as agricultural residential. The requested zoning is R20, and staff feels that this is the most consistent with the current zoning. It's Mebane's least dense residential zoning, which pairs most closely with this zoning by Orange County. The zoning map shows Mebane zoning in the area. So across the street on Rock Quarry Road is the site that was just rezoned last month by the city council. And there's also R12 CD conditional district zoning south of that site. And then we have light manufacturing and heavy manufacturing zoning to the north and to the east. The surrounding properties owned by Orange County are zoned agricultural residential by west of West End Road, and then east as you get closer to the light manufacturing. This is a rural residential zoning district. It is located currently in Orange County, and to establish zoning annexation would be required. There are city utilities available to serve the site. It is currently vacant. Surrounding uses include single-family residential, vacant and forested land. The site is located in an industrial growth strategy area as identified by Mebane by Design or Comprehensive Land Development Plan. This is part of the Buckhorn Economic Development District area. And this particular growth strategy area encourages non-residential uses. So staff finds that this could be a transition point from the residential we're seeing along Rock Quarry Road to the manufacturing on the other side. Unless there are questions for me, I will turn it over to the applicant for presentation on the general rezoning request.
Good evening, Mayor Hooks, members of council. Thank you for your time today. My name is Jeffrey Rother from Morningstar Law, 700 West Main Street in Durham. I'm excited to be here on behalf of Steve Hubrick and Hubrick Contracting, Inc. Regarding the pending applications for the 15.7 acre parcel at the corner of West End Road and Rock Quarry Road. The fundamental reason why we're here today is to request the approvals necessary to develop the property as a K-8 charter school to be run by Carolina Achieve. Our client, Hubrick Contracting, is based in Durham and specializes in the development of charter schools throughout North Carolina and the greater Southeast. As Ms. Ownby stated, the site is currently zoned agricultural in Orange County outside the extraterritorial jurisdiction of the town, or sorry, of the city. So we're here, we have three pending requests. First is the annexation to bring the property into the corporate limits. If that is granted, then Hubrick, as the contract purchaser, requests R20 zoning, which would allow the elementary and secondary school use on the property through the issuance of a special use permit by the Board of Adjustment. The site plan has been submitted. It's been reviewed by staff and the technical review committee, and we'll get to that in connection with the special use permit application if we get there. At this point, I'm just respectfully asking that the annexation petition be granted and that R20 zoning be given to the site. As far as the annexation is concerned, all the conditions, the statutory conditions have been met. Staff has certified to the completeness of the petition. The public health and safety will be promoted by annexing the property into the corporate limits. Utilities are available to the site. We have a team ready to get started and so the school can grow and become a valued member of this community. The site is situated very close to the NACC property. I believe council saw a presentation and approved it last month, and that was also annexed just to the west. So the zoning that we asked for is R20. As Ms. Ann Ownby noted, the R20 district here in the city is most similar to the agricultural zoning that's currently on the site. And that is predominantly in the area as can be seen in this slide. The property is also in the G2 primary growth area with under the city's comprehensive plan, which seeks to discourage single-family development, incentivize business growth. So we believe the R20 zoning request is in line with the comprehensive plan as confirmed by staff and by the planning board last month by unanimous vote. So I thank council for its time and consideration. We do ask for that annexation petition submitted by the property owner to be granted and for the council to establish R20 zoning. We will be back hopefully on the special use permit application. I'm happy to answer any questions about the rezoning petition. I will say, I don't know if anyone else signed up, but Tripp Cogburn from Carolina Achieve, the proposed charter school, is here to give a few words. So thank you for your time. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
Questions about the school itself, should they be asked now or in the special use permit?
I think I would imagine the city attorney would agree with me. I would say during the special use permit application.
I would agree.
Okay. There's a site plan, and all the questions specific to the school would be pertinent to those factors, I believe.
Absent the approval of the special use permit, would the property owner still be responsible for bringing utilities to this site if necessary?
If you annex the property and you will need to rezone it, and the request is R20, and before the property could be developed, the utilities would have to be brought to the site.
At the property owners?
It's my understanding that utilities are generally available.
That's my understanding as well.
The utilities would have to be extended. At this point, they are at Bowman Road. They would be brought up Rock Quarry. If the school developed first, they would bring them all the way up. If the subdivision that was approved last month develops first, they'd bring them up partially, and then the school would bring them up the other way. The rest of the way, I'm sorry.
Well, I guess my question is an assurance that it, and you know, subject to the school not being approved, you know, the city has a responsibility for providing services to an annexed area. And if the school wasn't approved, and you know, that's a different discussion, but would the city be responsible for the cost of extending the services of water and sewer? Or would that be the responsibility of whoever put homes on the property? If the special use permit is not approved.
I think it would be the responsibility of the developer.
Okay. That's the only question I had.
Unless council has anything else,
Any other questions? Okay, if not, it is a public hearing. Anybody like to speak?
Good evening. My name is Tripp Cogburn, and I'm the founding head of school at Carolina Achieve. I've been an educator for all 22 years of my professional life, serving as a teacher, coach, dean, principal, and head of school. In June, I enthusiastically joined the team at Carolina Achieve for 3 key reasons. First, my sincere belief in the mission and vision of Carolina Achieve, a school that is being intentionally designed and built with young learners in mind. We are committed to providing a strong academic foundation in a safe, supportive environment where students will have the comfort and confidence to apply their learning to real-world tasks and their own personal passions and interests. Our students will become innovative thinkers, resilient problem solvers, and the entrepreneurial leaders of the future. Secondly, the strength of the team that has come together to make Carolina Achieve a reality. We have an incredible board of directors, a selfless group of people that are passionate about improving the lives of the children in this area through education. They're committed to a cause bigger than themselves, and as a coach, I can tell you that's when the magic happens. Our project also includes tremendous partnerships, such as with Steve Hubrick and his team, organizations who are known to represent excellence and integrity throughout the state. And finally, as a native North Carolinian, I believe this project is an opportunity to make a significant positive impact here in Mebane, right in the heart of our great state. I moved my family here for this opportunity, and we have absolutely fallen in love with Mebane. That feeling is true throughout the Carolina Achieve team. We very much want to be part of the fabric of Mebane and to play a significant role in the health of this community. We are members of the Mebane Business Association and both the Alamance and Orange County Chambers of Commerce. We are deeply embedded in this community as business leaders, volunteers, and supporters of the endeavors of other citizens. And we believe that our school will help ensure the long-term success of this area by producing the next generation of leaders, many of whom will end up staying right here in our wonderful community. I thank you for your time and consideration and look forward to working together in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions?
I was hoping you could talk a little bit more. You referenced developing with young learners in mind as your first point. I just wanted you to expand a little bit on that for me.
Yeah, so in my experience, most schools are really designed for the adults. They're designed to work appropriately for teachers, for parents, and to send kids into sort of a bell and whistle workforce. And we're turning that prospect on its head. We're interested in taking our diverse set of young, curious learners and opening up the world to them, showing them what's possible across the board. Also, working towards mastery in education means that we don't want to be restricted to time. And so we'll have opportunities in the afternoon after we do foundational learning in the morning. In the afternoon, we want to ensure that all of our students are not just reaching proficiency, but a level of mastery so that they have that comfort and confidence to take those skills out into the world. So that's a different model than most schools are able to do.
Is it going to be, I guess you're talking about a different model. Is it going to be a different model based on the actual construction and architecture of the school itself, or the curriculum, or both?
It'll be both. It'll be a combination of both, as well as what we spend our time and our focus and our money on, and that really will be from this moment forward. It's really about the students. It's not necessarily about any set of restrictions that we have coming from the state. Oftentimes, schools will realize they're not quite meeting the needs of students, and they want to change what they're doing, but it's the machine is too big. And so for us to focus on what young learners need from the very beginning allows us to really meet those needs.
One more question for
Sure,
you.
of
So, for children who may not be, I guess, neurotypical, for example,
Mhm.
so they may have different learning needs. Does the school curriculum have a plan on how they may support those students?
Yes, so we'll have layers of support. We'll have, for certain neurodiverse learners, we want all of our teachers to be trained in Orton Gillingham, which is an opportunity to teach reading skills. Typically, Orton Gillingham is used for students who have dyslexia, but what many studies have found is it's actually the best way to teach reading to all learners, regardless of what their diverse skill set may be. So that will be one layer of support. Beyond that, for students who have significant needs, we will have EC accommodations. We expect to have between 30 and 40 students right off the bat. And so we're planning for that already, both in terms of classroom space and our hiring.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Okay, again, it is a public hearing. Anybody'd like to speak? Yes, sir.
I don't know what is the right time to speak, so I took this opportunity. My name is Balkrishna Sharma. I live in 717 Flip Trail in Cary. Good evening, Mayor, Pro-Tem Mayor, and council members and staff. You may remember me from last month council meeting. I represented NACC Investment Group, which is the subdivision approved, rezoned and approved for the next across the street from this school zoning that they have requested. Today, I noticed the proposed K8 charter school to be built in the land parcel very close to our planned NSCC subdivision at Rock Quarry Road. And in the city council agenda, And in this, wanted to speak just a minute for public hearing. Therefore, I'm here as a citizen to show my support for this proposed charter school. I'm I'm showing the support because I believe that the charter school, like which one they are proposing, with newly built infrastructure, new computers, I suppose, new technology, and government-approved curriculum can encourage innovative teaching methods and provide more learning opportunities for all students. And in this case, has a great potential for adding value to the communities in and around the city of Mebane and in North Carolina and beyond. Again, being next door to this planned proposed subdivision, I think our members and their children and grandchildren will benefit greatly if it is approved. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Anybody else? If not,
I make a motion to close the public hearing.
we have a motion to close the public
Second.
hearing. Got a second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the first item, the ordinance to extend the corporate limits. We need a motion for that.
I make a motion, we approve the ordinance to extend the corporate limits to include this plus or minus 15.7 acres.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. The ordinance to extend the corporate limits. All right, we need a motion to establish R20 zoning.
I make a motion to approve the R20 zoning as presented. Motion to find that the application is consistent with the objectives and goals in the city's 2017 Comprehensive Land Development Plan, Mebane by Design. Specifically, the request is for property within the city's G2 industrial growth area.
All right, we have a motion.
Second.
We have a second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, moving on to public hearing D, special use permit. Ms. Omby, but again, we need people to be sworn in if they are going to discuss. Goodness gracious.
If you are not with the city, we need you to swear in. And you have to swear in again. Yeah.
Oh, I'm not under oath, but I'll do it anyway.
Fill out your left hand. Bible, closest to
You can put it
you,
in my
raise
chair.
your right hand. You swear that her firm to tell the truth and the testimony to be given in this matter, so help you God.
So you all are acting as the Board of Adjustment at this time. This is required by the table of permitted uses within the Mebane Unified Development Ordinance. The special use request for a school will be considered by the Board of Adjustment. I will briefly go over some of the slides that we've already seen just for the sake of the record. This is a special use request by Steve Hubrick for property on the corner of Weston Road and Rock Quarry Road that totals approximately 15.7 acres. You all have just taken action to annex the property into the city limits, and it is now zoned R20 residential district. An elementary or secondary school is allowed with a special use permit approved by the Mebane Board of Adjustment. For special use requests, there are 4 findings which are listed here on the screen, and the applicant will review in more detail. As mentioned, the site is now within the city limits, and utilities are available to serve the site. It is currently vacant. Surrounding uses do include single-family residential, vacant and forested land. And as has been mentioned in the previous public hearings, we do have residential development approved to the west of this site that would introduce more homes than what is shown currently on the screen. It is a site located in an industrial growth strategy area identified in our comprehensive land development plan, which does encourage non-residential uses. This would serve as introducing a school between an area that we have seen develop more residentially with an area to the east that has been developed for more industrial uses. A site plan has been included with the special use request, and it is for a K-8 charter school to be developed in 2 phases. There are different sheets included in the site plan document linked in your packet. One of those is the initial and the other is the full build out. The initial site plan shows operation of a K through 4 school in modular units and construction of 1 parking lot, that being approximately 70 spaces with a driveway on West 10 Road. There would also be one driveway constructed on Rock Quarry Road that would provide the loop around that is necessary for stacking requirements. This is listed on the site plan as an initial development that would last for approximately 2 years. A traffic impact analysis was completed for this development. It was reviewed by the North Carolina Department of Transportation, city staff, and our third-party reviewer. It should be noted that the NCDOT has specific staff that review for schools, and so it goes through an extra layer of review when a school is involved. No off-site transportation improvements have been required from the NCDOT or from the city. There is a minimum of just over 3,300 feet of internal stacking that has been reviewed and found to be adequate. Additionally, the applicant is making a voluntary commitment to provide 5-foot sidewalks along the property frontages. At the final build out, there will be an approximately 34,000 square foot building for a K-8 school. And then you see this additional parking lot emerge that would support staff parking. There's also an additional driveway onto Rock Quarry Road. And this bus loop was shown with the initial plan, but I didn't review it. So there's a second driveway on West 10 Road for the bus loop. Additional features of the site plan include a soccer field, a future gym, and a stormwater device. It has been recommended that this device be constructed for a 100-year storm and that a flood study be prepared with construction plans. Unless there are questions for me, I will turn it over to the applicant.
So we just had a special use permit to increase the number of students at a daycare. How does the number of students play into a special use permit for a school like this?
Our table of permitted uses has an odd stratification of daycare centers that they're permitted by right or with development standards under different circumstances that's primarily related to the number. We do not make that distinction with schools. So if there's another building that were to be added to this development, then we would have to reconsider that and it would come back to council. But we don't have anything really specific in terms of student population outside of potentially some stacking issues. If the number were to increase, the DOT may have some comments on that.
So there's no restriction on the number of students or the actual grades. It's really just on the facilities.
They have currently parked or overparked their site to where it would likely be able to accommodate high school students with the parking that's provided.
Did DOT take into consideration the additional parking in their count? There's no chance that if they increase the number of students or go to high school that DOT would now say they need a left turn lane or a right turn lane?
Well, if I should clarify, if they do go to high school, that would require additional review by the DOT. So there would be some changes there that would have to be reviewed. Yes.
To clarify, and Ashley and Lawson can speak on this, they are submitting for K through 8
Yes.
school. If they ever go to 9th, 10th, 11th, or 12th grade, they'd have to go back through the process again.
So if that additional process would require road changes, then we could they would need to offer or could offer those as a voluntary condition to make any road improvements.
They could. They'd have to go through the full process, TRC, all the way through to night special use again. So, and they are aware of that.
Good evening again. Thank you, members of the board this time. I'm Jeff Rother, Morningstar Law Group, 700 West Main, Durham. On behalf of Steve Hubrick and Hubrick Contracting, we are requesting the issuance of a special use permit to allow the construction and use of a K through 8 school campus at this 15.7 acre site at the corner of West 10 Road and Rock Quarry Road. At the outset, I have a couple of housekeeping matters to take care of. First, I ask that the staff report and all of its attachments that are part of the agenda be moved into the evidence and accepted for this hearing. That includes the site plan that was submitted, the traffic management plan, and the traffic impact analysis. They were each linked to the report. I also asked that judicial notice be taken with regard to the content of the city's UDO, its comprehensive plan, and other plans adopted by the city. In addition, I asked for the omission of a few other materials that I could pass out, include the resumes of our industry professionals, Tim Guadagno from Summit, Lyle Overcash from Kimley Horn, and Mr. Nick Kirkland from Kirkland Appraisals. I'm happy to hand those out. That packet also includes an appraisal report from Mr. Nick Kirkland, and although they were attached to the staff report, we provided a copy of the ultimate site plan as well as the traffic management plan and ultimate build out. So if I may approach, I'd be happy to pass them out, or what you got? Thank you. Thanks, Dave. As I mentioned, we represent Huber Contracting. For over a decade, Huber Contracting has specialized in constructing Class A charter schools across the state, including some nearby. Very happy to be partnering with Tripp and Carolina Chief on this new project here in Mebane. You've already met Mr. Cogburn from Carolina Chief. Steve Hubrick from Huber Contracting, from my client, is here, and I will be able, I'll introduce him at the end of the presentation to be able to address any questions about the site plan. Before we get there, just want to touch the standard quickly. And the people here from the industry professionals to provide the evidence today. Following the zoning application that was approved, the site is now zoned R20. Section 4-1 of the UDO allows the use as an elementary and secondary school in the district, following the issuance of a special use permit by the Board of Adjustment, as you are sitting now as the board. That permit under the UDO must be issued except in the following circumstances: under section 2.18E, if the development proposed does not meet UDO requirements, or 2-18F, if completed as proposed, the development will materially endanger the public health or safety, will substantially injure the value of adjoining or abutting property, will not be in harmony with the area in which it is to be located, or will not be in general conformity with the land use plan or the other plans and policies adopted by City Council. Hubrick, the applicant, will satisfy these standards through competent, substantial material evidence. This will be shown by our three industry professionals: Mr. Tim Guadagno, engineer, site designer from Summit Design Engineering Services. He will testify regarding the overall site design in relation to UDO requirements, including the screening buffers on the site. He's certainly familiar with the overall site layout, including the driveway that provides storage for vehicle stacking, and parking and the like. But I do know that our second witness will be Mr. Lyle Overcash from Kimley Horn. He's a traffic engineer and should be able to get into a lot more detail to any questions you may have on those issues. And third, Mr. Kirkland for Kirkland Appraisals, a duly licensed real estate appraiser here in North Carolina, and will be able to provide a recap of the analysis that he performed regarding the lack of impact on abutting or adjoining property. And finally, as I said, Mr. Steve Hubrick will be available to answer any questions about the site that you may have. We thank the board in advance for its time and consideration. I'm happy to answer any questions along the way. If there are none now, I will make way for Mr. Guadagno, and I will come back at the end and respectfully ask the permit be granted. Thank you.
Thank you for hearing us out today. I'm Timothy Allen Guadagno of 3301 Benson Drive in Raleigh. I work with Summit Design and Engineering Services, Inc. I'm the principal landscape architect. And together with my civil engineers, I, as a landscape architect, have worked on this project. We were hired by Hubrick Contracting to design the site plan for the property. The subject property is approximately 15.7 acres and has been designed for a school serving grades K through 8. The site plan has been submitted with the documents. And in my opinion, it meets all the objective UDO requirements and satisfies the review criteria for this special use permit. Some of this presentation is going to be high level, where we're going to look at the vehicular parking, access, circulation, but the project traffic engineer will follow my testimony to address some of these items in detail. Between the two phases of the presentation, I will discuss what is different between the two. And so phase one, we have modular units in the middle with a single parking lot with 72 parking spaces. The required counts exceed those for those working at the school, with only 23 required under code. And so the current design exceeds those requirements. There will also be 2 points of vehicular ingress and egress for the site for the students and teachers, and then the bus loop of the northern corner of the site. The second is the primary driveway that provides 3,400 linear feet of storage for vehicular stacking during pickup and drop-off times, and you'll see that in yellow on the screen. And in phase two, the modular units will be removed, and all the associated utilities will be abandoned to make room for a 34,000 square foot school structure located adjacent to the modular units. And then in the northwestern part of the site, there'll be a second parking lot added for access with a third driveway that was shown before. And the construction of the second lot, the site will have 219 spaces in total, which exceeds the requirements. Other site features that will be on the site plan for both phase one and phase two are the 5-foot sidewalk along both road frontages to promote safe pedestrian travel around the school, and is a voluntary commitment by the client. Open space has a soccer field on the site with significant open space surrounding it. And we've located this closer to the residential areas to offer some buffer from the more dense parking lot side of the site. This will have, there we go. This area has already been cleared. And so the open space is provided without any need for clear cutting. Despite the site already being cleared, there's a significant existing tree buffer along the southern and eastern boundaries of the property. This tree line will not be disturbed and will provide some more buffering to the adjacent properties. In addition to the required streetscaping and the parking lot plantings that we will show, those will all meet or exceed any city requirements. Taken together, all the buffering on the sides of the property and those added along the streetscapes in the parking lot will visually help its appeal and incorporate the school into the existing area. As for stormwater detention pond, which is proposed, we are looking at a 100-year storm standard. We have sized this based off requirements for the site based off the state requirements. And There will also be swales around to help direct water on site into that pond. All stormwater management devices will meet or exceed all requirements. Lighting around the site of the soccer field, based off the existing vegetation to remain, and the full cutoff light fixtures used. We do not anticipate any lighting or sound pollution on the adjacent properties. We'll use appropriate signage, internal stop signs, and no entry signs at the points of egress to help direct people and create safe pedestrian and vehicular traffic. Our team at Summit Design and Engineering works closely with the city to address all staff comments and to ensure that the site design meets UDO requirements. And it's of my professional opinion that the proposed plans in conformance with the land use plan, other plans and policies officially adopted by the city council along with the special requirements applicable to the use. It's also my professional opinion that the proposed use is in harmony with the area and that the site is designed in a manner that maintains public health and safety and minimizes any adverse effects to nearby properties. Finally, it is my professional opinion that the site has been designed in compliance with all environmental protection regulations applicable to the site. I'm happy to address any further comments as they come up. And if none, I will invite Lyle Overcash up.
I do have a couple of questions.
Yes,
So I have some friends that their children attend Alamance Community School, and I saw a picture of that one referenced. So I wanted to kind of talk about that one a little bit because they are experiencing a lot of growth and as a result, a lot of traffic backups during pickup and drop off. And I believe I heard that the city of Graham has had to get involved in terms of making them like stagger their drop off times and pickup times and things like that. So it's becoming a problem. And I guess what I wanted to say is take that example in particular and say that I do expect that this school could potentially experience a significant amount of growth and interest if approved. Have you looked at that design? Are you taking any lessons from that design and incorporating that into this one?
Yes, and I'll let Lyle speak to most of that, but we have looked at and over-designed this for more than expected. And we've any time that we're able to, we've pulled a little bit throughout the design, pulled that road to be a little bit longer to allow for more and more stacking. And so I see on the screen, one of the drive aisles has 73 car stacking spaces and another one has 74. And so it may even, we're looking at that and we understand. Me having 2 elementary schoolers myself, I understand waiting in line every day.
And I believe there's a reference about a bus loop. So will there be busing options as well for this school?
I'll let Hubrick talk to that. I've been told by the civil engineer that was for options if they do look at having some sort of transport like that, having that available to them.
Great, thank you.
Or there are effectively 2 site plans, and actually 3 when you consider the transition from the first one to the second one. Give me some discussion on how you would transition from modular units that are going to be, I assume, the initial classrooms with the roadway. How are you going to handle construction traffic when you're building a 34,000 square foot building? Construction traffic, as you've repeated a number of times, pedestrian safety with the school kids and the parents coming in. How are you going to transition from the modular to the main school? How are you going to handle construction of the main school with modular units in there?
Well, as of right now, it's been phased so that those 2 parts do not fall on top of each other between the modular and the new building. So there will be room for one to happen next to the other. I usually leave the day-to-day of the general contractors to be figured out with the general contractors. And so Steve Hubrick should be able to speak to that a little bit better.
Are you saying that this construction of the 34,000 square foot building will not occur while the modular units are there? Is that what you're saying?
I am saying that they are not happening on top of each other. Those are 2 different locations.
Yeah, on top of each other in location, not in time.
Hmm.
I think he means on top of each other in location. They're not going to be on top of each other in location.
Oh, no, yeah, I know, but they'll
Of each other in time. The
modular units will be there while the school is being constructed, not in the same place, but.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that.
Maybe before,
So this, I'm talking two different locations, so they will not overlap in location.
do we want to go ahead and answer that question with other people, or should I ask my question to this gentleman? What's
We
best?
we can let someone else discuss it, yeah.
Okay.
We were going to have Lyle Overcash up next to discuss traffic. We certainly don't want to avoid your question. If you prefer, Mr. Huber can come up now. If there are other
No, you
questions along the
stick to.
way,
no,
we
stick-
could have them at the end. That's what we figured the questions might be able to be addressed.
I have a few more questions regarding the landscape and the site plan. Sorry.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Come on. Sorry about that.
Yes,
When-
sir.
When is the school set to open? What is the plan? In terms of first semester, first school year?
25. That fall 25.
And so all of this driveway and parking lot would be paved and curb and gutter and everything ready for by August of 2025 is the plan.
Yes.
And I didn't see a playground on the plan. Is there one that I missed, or is that just going to be built in the open space, or how is playground going to be handled?
That could be potentially within the open space. That was not on the program that I was designing towards.
Okay. And with so many children around, does that create any extra requirements for the stormwater pond in terms of protection or fencing or safety issues around that?
There are requirements for stormwater ponds depending on the detention. If it's a certain depth, it needs to have a fence around it. And so that is a state designation. And so if that's required, there will most definitely be one around it.
There's nothing special for stormwaters at schools versus stormwaters that are not at
No,
schools.
the state doesn't see a difference from an apartment building that has adults and children versus a school that has adults and children.
Thank you.
The one that was built on Jimmy Carr Road, beautiful school, very well done. You just added gymnasium area, very nice. They got the modulars. Was the modulars there when it started, and then you built the thing? You brought the modulars in after you built the new facility, right? On that site.
I was not a part of that site.
So you built a new facility and then open for school, but you're doing it different this time. Okay. You get asked for everything. Can I get my kids in here? Any other questions?
We're good.
Okay. Thank you.
Can you put
Or 12? Yes, sir. Good evening. My name is Lyle Overcash, 421 Fayetteville Street in Raleigh with Kimley Horn Associates. I've been with them about 3.5 years. I've been a traffic engineer for over 30 years now. I hold a Bachelor of Science degree from NC State University from 1993, specialty in transportation. I'm a licensed professional engineer in North Carolina and Virginia, and I'm a member of the Institute of Transportation Engineers, and I've worked on over 50 schools across the state. Our role in the project, we've prepared the traffic impact analysis and coordinated with the city and the DOT concerning the traffic management plans for the proposed school. This is an example of the phase 1 traffic management plan. I'll review the internal stacking recommendations for the site and review the driveway configurations along Rock Quarry and West 10 Road. For the TIA, we conducted a traffic study for this project and collected our traffic counts in August and September of 2023. The study was conducted per NCDOT and City Mebane standards, which are based on typical Institute of Traffic Engineers methods for conducting a traffic study. Our traffic study has been reviewed and accepted by the city and both the Municipal and School Transportation Assistance Unit, MSTA, and the district groups of DOT. Based on the study, we have recommended various traffic improvements in the design of the overall site. The school at build-out is proposed to contain 900 students in the one academic building. Tim discussed that build-out. The school is proposing to have two bell schedules with a 45-minute stagger between grades K through 5 at 600 students and grades 6 through 8 at 300 students. For the student capacity, the MSTA calculations state the school should provide enough storage to provide an average queue of about 2,552 feet. High demand, which is about 30% more, at 3,318 feet. As currently envisioned, the site layout provides approximately 3,450 feet of queue for the school, which will be fully constructed during phase 1 for the 300 students in grades K through 2. In addition, the school ultimately plans on utilizing 3 to 4 school buses to serve the school population. And we didn't take any credit for the students that will be riding the bus, so that's a kind of a built-in factor of safety. We have included the proposed on-site storage to help ensure that this traffic does not back up on Rock Quarry Road during those critical pickup and drop-off times, which is experienced at the older schools across North Carolina that were not designed with the appropriate amount of vehicle stacking. According to our analysis and confirmed by DOT, the length of the internal driveways will prevent stacking on Rock Quarry Road even during peak hours. Let's see if I can make this one work. Is it the big white one? The site's been done with 4 access points. Site driveway 1. No, top. There we go. Site driveway 1 on Rock Quarry Road is inbound only, just north of where Danny Drive is from the development that's going in across the way. It's going to serve as a primary ingress for all the parents. Site driveway 2 is kind of the main driveway. It will be built in phase 1. That's going to be the egress, and it will serve as the access in phase 1 for pretty much all the visitor traffic and the staff traffic as well, and all the egress coming from the school. And then we have site driveway for the buses here. We try to keep a one-way flow to reduce the conflicts of entering and exiting traffic. And these driveways here on West 10 are located kind of what we call the good side of the curve, on the outside of the curve for a good sight distance. And then flip, maybe I can do it. No. Yeah, there we go, good. And so at build out, we'll have one more driveway, and we'll shift a lot of the staff to this back parking lot, and this will be our 4th driveway at build out. Circulation around the property is appropriate for the school traffic. As I mentioned, cars will be able to enter on the on-site queue and move through multiple lanes to safely get in and out of the site. In my professional opinion, this is the safest configuration we could achieve, as is a one-way flow from Rock Quarry Road to West 10 Road. Good sight distance is provided at the primary exit to the school, and both Rock Quarry and West 10 Road are classified as local collector roads. The proposed new school will incorporate necessary parking within the site. That's been discussed. The design promotes the overall efficiency of parking and loading on the site, maintaining safe ingress and egress for vehicles, and the installation of bike parking will be in accordance with UDO standards. New dumpster facilities will be safely located and easily accessible. They are up in this area here. Accordingly, approval of this special use permit and site plan will have no adverse effect on the adjacent properties, as all traffic associated with the new school is addressed and with the improvements shown on our site plan. Parking and circulation areas to serve the proposed school are all internal to the site. No noticeable noise or odor will be generated as a result of the traffic associated with the proposed development. Accordingly, approval of this special use permit will have no adverse effect on adjacent properties. So in conclusion, it's my professional opinion that the site plan for the proposed new school is in conformance with the land use plan and other plans and policies officially adopted by the City Council. It is in harmony with the area and meets all the requirements applicable to the special use permit, and this proposed plan for you today provides mitigation for the traffic congestion impacts reasonably expected to be generated by the new school. It is also my professional opinion that the site has been designed in an appropriate manner to safely accommodate automotive traffic, including emergency vehicles. In addition, this new development will not adversely affect the health or safety of the public, and this application adequately addresses all the review factors identified in the Mebane UDO. So I'm available to answer any questions you might have.
I'd like to follow up on the question from Councilwoman Burkhalter regarding stacking. I mean, that's not an old school, and I'm sure you were not involved in it, but some traffic engineer said that this would be great, and then it proves to not be great. How does that happen, and how can we be sure that that's not happening here?
For this school, as I mentioned before, we were required to provide 3,300. We needed 3,300 by the DOT calculator. When DOT came back and asked us for this third outside lane to, transition from 3 to 2 to 1 to the loading zone, that's about 3,450 feet. But we have 3,700 total if we were to include that extra lane. So we have extra stacking there. We have the buses that we didn't take any kind of like discount for any of the students that we'd be riding the buses. And so there, I think you're going to find you'll get some credit when the buses, I think we'll have 1 to 2 in the first phase, and then we'll be up to 4. And then if things get bad in the future, we have the flexibility to add another lane around this drive here to have 3 inbound from the beginning. If you wanted to go that far, I think a lot of times what we run into, and I run into this quite a bit, we get called in after, especially this time of year when schools open and they're new and they're not following the management plan. We just had one at Apex that opened and they coned off a lane they weren't supposed to cone off. So a lot has to do with how the school is operating internally. And so it's up to the Tripp and his folks to take ownership of the drop-off lane and be effective. We've kind of identified, if you see the little staff people, we've kind of identified where to put the folks to help direct the traffic and keep it moving. Because we do make certain assumptions about the turnover of the queuing lane, and that has a lot to do. If they're doing something on site that's not efficient, and I can't speak to this other school,
Sure.
but that's likely what's going on.
Yeah. So you've had, I don't know how to include the buses into this, it should help, but I don't know what percentage it would help, but it looks like you've gone 10% over so far. If you added a third lane, how much more stacking would that add?
I'd hate to venture a guess. Yeah, I'd hate to venture a guess.
I think that it's a significant thing that you said that if necessary, there would be ability to add that third lane.
Yes.
My apologies if I missed this earlier. How many vehicles can we stack there with the 2 and the 3 lanes all the way back to Rock Quarry Road?
This was asked at the Planning Commission. I think we came up with about 150 cars. The typical measurement.
All the lanes full, all the way back.
Yeah, we usually use about 22.5 feet per car. And a lot, again, at the schools, we're trying to encourage, the parents to bunch the cars up and not have large spaces in between. Folks are on their phones, they're not paying attention. They're not, grouping the cars together. And again, the school in Apex, I just observed that, they were doing a good job of telling the parents to move up. And that's what's important with the operation, is to have folks kind of stationed along the queue to keep them moving, and then be very efficient. When you have the next group of kids, you got to have them ready to go. And that's kind of the main thing. And what's good about this school is because we're building so much infrastructure to begin with, they have a little time to get used to it, and they kind of develop a good system. And so it's not as critical for the first phase. They won't have any trouble. They could be somewhat inefficient for the first couple of years until they get a good system down.
You were saying that you had entrance off of Rock Quarry and exit out of West 10. That is unique, I think, in schools. The load thing. The schools that I'm thinking about here only has one in and one out. So Eastern, anyway, we won't go into all the bad designs of schools in the past, but this is very unique.
Yeah, Steve
Got a
came,
lot going for it on that.
Steve came to us and he just basically gave us an aerial, has said, this is the parcel we're looking at, and the first thing we did was lay out the roads. I mean, and what was good about this one is you could enter on one road and exit on another road.
Until you have a grandparent like me to go in the wrong way, but that's neither here nor there.
That's so nice. And, you know, it's very low volume on Rock Quarry Road.
Any other questions?
I would like to hear Mr. Hupkirk talk about the other school because the name of his company is all over that school. So
Fortunately,
we can get
I
to
didn't
that
do that
point.
one, so that's
Yeah.
good.
Talking about the one on Jimmy Carr Road. Yeah.
I'm not sure if this would be appropriate at this time. I guess, where will the buses be stored? It'll be on-site, off-site?
On-site. I assume on-site.
Where?
We've got parking areas here for the buses, three parking spaces, and then we can just keep one in the loop.
Gotcha, the 50, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, nice room there.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Nick Kirkland with Kirkland Appraisals. I'm a state certified general appraiser in 5 states and based here in Raleigh, North Carolina. I've been accepted as an expert before this board before and before town councils, planning boards, and the like hundreds of times regarding potential to impact adjoining property values and questions of harmony of use. So to that end, what we've done is we have a pretty short impact study to discuss both the harmony and also the potential to impact the adjoining property values for the proposed school here. So what I'll talk to you about first is how we find out whether or not it's in harmony, at least from an appraisal perspective. Second is, how do you determine whether something impacts an adjoining property's value? So first off, the easy part. We look for other similar schools in the area. What are other schools that are not right in downtown, and schools that are right on the edges of most of the nearby municipalities? So we've got multiple examples within the impact study. And the most important thing that we're looking at is, hey, what are they next to? What's around it? Are they next to subdivisions? Are they next to just undeveloped land? What's the most common uses? They almost all adjoin some level of residential uses. Similar to this one, there's often proposed subdivisions in close proximity or older residential dwellings. The proposed site is very consistent with this, and it's my professional opinion that it will be harmonious if it's developed where proposed. Second, to determine whether or not there would be an impact to the adjoining property value, we look for adjoining properties that have sold next to existing schools. This is called a matched pair or a paired sales analysis. And what we do is we find, hey, there's a sale that's next to this school that's already in the ground. Okay, do other similar nearby homes sell for a similar value, or are they more or less? The idea being you're trying to isolate whether or not being next to the school impacted the value of that property. We have multiple examples of matched pairs within this impact study, including some from schools in really close proximity, even just down the road on West 10 Road, of homes that back up to the school selling for similar prices as other nearby homes that aren't next to the school. This is strong support for the proposed school not having any impact on adjoining property values. And based on that, it's my professional opinion that the proposed use will not impact any of the put those words together, sorry, abutting or adjoining property values. I know that was pretty fast and high level. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to address them or go through anything in the impact study.
I'll just make a comment. My own yard is in one of these comp properties, so I guess I can verify at least one of those.
Thank you. I'll turn it over to Steve.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. I appreciate tonight you guys giving us the opportunity to present to you this great project. My name is Steve Hubrick. I'm with Hubrick Contracting. We are a full-service development and construction or contractor in North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, Tennessee, and Texas.
Your address.
I'm sorry, my address is 3100 Trailwood Drive, Durham. We specialize in charter school development and construction. We are located right here in the Triangle. And before we started this project, we met with staff and we had found a few sites. We did meet with staff, tried to go over the positive and negatives over a couple different locations. Once we zeroed in on this one, it is a process. We did sit and have some pre-planning with civil engineers as well as traffic engineers, Lyle Overcash. And we did try to lay this out where we had the most advantageous ability to handle traffic, knowing that we had to meet with Chuck Edwards and the DOT as well as MSTA in Raleigh. We've done quite a few. We've done 43 in the last 8 years. So we do know that there's a process of going through. It's not just local jurisdictions. It's also you got to satisfy the NCDOT folks. And because these are two NCDOT roads, we've got to get encroachment permits. So to answer, a couple concerns that I heard tonight about traffic from Alamance community, that expansion we're doing right now, we're adding 1,000 feet. So that was part of the TIA, but their expansion or their growth was faster than they had anticipated. So they wouldn't have had those traffic problems, if they had the growth plan was as specified, because that additional 1,000 feet of stacking that we're adding was in the original TIA. Lyle didn't do that TIA, so they couldn't speak to that, but that was part of the initial plan. So last year when we started the site plan process, they indicated to us we got to get that we got to get that road in, and we're adding I think it's an additional 60 cars of parking, and another 1,000 feet of stacking approximately. So that is being taken care of, and in the next I think it's 60 days we should have that gymnasium wrapped up and open up all the additional stacking there.
That's helpful.
And then another question I had heard was safety around stormwater ponds. It might not be a requirement, but for every school we put a gate or fence around the stormwater ponds. It'll have a double gate system so you can get in with equipment to do maintenance, but it will have a fence around the entire pond. So I'm here to answer any other questions or you might have in regards to stacking, building construction. I know your concern was how do we build this while the school's in session? We laid that out purposely to have the modulars on the far east side, southeast side towards the soccer field. We will fence it off. And then the first thing we would do is start putting in that secondary parking lot. And then that will be the employee construction parking, lay down area for materials. And then we'll have that entire area from the modulars fenced off from the construction area. We're in the process of constructing an auditorium for Voyager Academy, and that's our 4th phase in the last 7 years. So we started out with the middle school. We built the high school 3 years later. 2 years later, we built the elementary school, and now we're doing the auditorium, and it's all in the same 18-acre campus. So it's challenging. It's not easy, especially working around. But a lot of the subcontractors that we've worked with have done a lot of these projects with us. They all understand drop off and pick up time. So
after you build the building, will the modulars remain there?
So the plan would be that the building would get built once the school gets a certain amount of population. So I can't commit on when those things will move, but they will move eventually. The permanent construction, they're going to start out the school only K through 2. So they're going to start young and they're only going to grow 1 grade a year. So it's going to take 6 years to get to K8. So we'll probably pull that trigger in the 2nd and 3rd year if their student population, if they've attracted the students, where we can break ground on the permanent construction and then they move into that facility and then the modulars could go away. So that's the typical plan. We're doing one right now in New Bern, North Carolina, where we've got 3 modular classroom units and we're 20 feet off of the first modular unit, we did the exact same thing, put in the driveway, put in the parking lot. We fenced off the area where we're working, and then we've got construction laid down in the front of it where there's future visitor parking. And then that's how we're accessing the site for concrete trucks, rebar, steel, lumber deliveries. And then it's unique in the fact that the kids get to be on site while they see the project, coming out of the ground, and parents see it coming out of the ground. So it does add a little bit of excitement for them because they can see progress coming. And then once we complete the project, obviously, it's during the summer when school's out, we take the fencing down, finish up the landscaping, sidewalks, paving, and then the kids can move into the school.
So how long did you say the modulars could be there?
2 to 3 years, I would say.
But that's based on
It's going to be based on students coming to the school. So if the student population is low and they don't have a lot of kids coming, it might take longer, but we can't predict, how many applications they're going to get the first year. This is a startup school.
That's, that actually brings me to a question too. I know that this is in Orange County, but are there going to be limitations on, like, if they're children or families from Alamance County,
No.
for example?
So there's no limitations because it's a public school. It's open enrollment. Kids could come here from Durham, Orange County, Alamance County, Person County, Granville County. It's wherever, we did Falls Lake Academy about 6 years ago, and they've got a lot of kids coming from Wake County, from Durham County, as well as Granville County, because their parents work in the Butner prison or whatever, and they can drop their kid across the street. And the education dollars follow the student. So wherever that student resides is where those dollars come from. So it just depends on where those kids are coming from. But I would imagine just with the amount of residential growth down Bowman Road, you're going to get predominantly a lot of those kids in that area, but a lot of kids in Elements as well. So it's just so close.
Probably beating a dead horse here with the trailers. When the brick and mortar is 100%, those trailers are going to be gone, right?
I can't speak to that. I mean, it just depends on their growth rate and how that brick and mortar building, how many it can accommodate. But the plan is to eventually move those modulars out of there once they move into the building. So that's the plan. And then if this, 7 years from now, 6 years from now, if they decide to go to high school, then we know that we've got to, we talked to DOT about this very early on about the high school phase. It's been approved at the state for K through 12, but at the high school phase, it's 6 years from now. And we don't know what this whole area is going to look like 6 years from now. So when they're starting out K2 and growing one grade a year, you're talking about 2031 or 2032 before that even gets to that point. And so if we do that, at that point, we would have to come back to revise the site plan, do a traffic impact study, go all the way through NCDOT, and then build that second building. Whether it's here or somewhere else, we don't know.
That's actually what I was getting at right there. You'll have to come back to expand, to move to
Right.
the high school and to either continue to use the trailers or to build new
Right.
brick and mortar
That's right.
in that same location.
That's right.
Okay.
So there's really no guarantee that the modulars will be removed. Is that what you're saying?
I can't guarantee that. I do know that when the K8, they're signing a lease for the modulars. They don't have the money to buy the modulars. So if they lease these modulars, I'm assuming that they're going to go away.
The problem with the Alamance Community School, you basically said that they did not build all the stacking initially, and then they grew faster and they needed more stacking.
Correct.
But in this case, you're building all the stacking
Correct.
from the beginning.
From the beginning.
Okay, so you're gonna have way more stacking
The
than you need at the
stacking
start.
was designed for 900 students, and the school buses do provide. You've typically got buses that have 60 kids per bus, so that's 180 kids right there. If they start out with 3, whether they fill the buses or not, we don't know that. But even if they're at 50%, that's 100 coming out of that number that's not even accounted for in our stacking number.
Zombie.
There is a note provided on the site plan that says the trailers will be removed after the new facility is in operation. And so there's a bit of conflict between that note and what you're saying now.
Okay. I mean, I just, I can't tell you when that's gonna be. Like, the permanent building will be done once those, modular trailers start filling up. I mean, when we've got, 20 classrooms, so that's conceivably 300 to 400 kids of, no, 500 kids, excuse me, because they're gonna have 25 kids per class. So 500 kids in those classroom trailers would be by the third year.
The city attorney can clarify this, but the note would indicate once the building is occupied, the modular units will be moved.
Correct.
That's what the note on the plan says, if you want to clarify that, Lawson.
Well, it raises a question with me of the schools that you've built. What is the longest period of time you've had modulars on the ground? And what's the shortest period of time in this scenario that you've had modulars on the ground?
I'd probably say the longest is maybe 2 to 3 years. The shortest is 1 year. Move them in modulars year one, move them out. By the second year, they're moving into the permanent building.
But to your question, Mayor Pro Tem Bradley, the note would indicate that the modulars will be removed once the building is occupied.
Well, I don't know, maybe nobody else has this concern, but permanent modular units is not really in the, I mean, I would say go back, we would need to go back and get another appraisal for property values, because there's a lot of difference between, building in an area where there's modular schools as opposed to building in an area where there's an actual brick and mortar building. I know that, the complaints I've heard about the modulars we had at Southern and EM Yoder, their appearance, and of course, coming back from a fire service perspective, they're not the safest. They're not the safest way to educate kids in modular units. So, in fact, the only major school fire I can remember in Mebane in the last 30 years was a modular unit at South Elementary. So, I would have a different perspective about this school if I felt like the modulars were going to be a permanent fixation, or if it's going to be 10 years before they're removed. I guess that's my point.
So, Mr. Brown, I assume the note supersedes the comment tonight? I guess that's the,
Unless the note is withdrawn.
No, note's not withdrawn. So the plan has always been move them into modulars, get the school open. Once they meet a certain population, break ground, build the building, move them into the building.
And again, beating this dead horse, it sounds like it's gonna be a cliff event. I mean, as soon as that facility is up and running, move them all over and
Right.
start
And like and
get the trailers out.
again, if that was going to be a temporary location for the high school construction to give a bridge to get the high school building built, that would be something we'd be coming back to for approval on. And it might not even be here. It might be a mile from here,
Sorry, I just wonder.
You need to come up.
Just a question on the height of the permanent building. It appeared from some of the materials that it was 3 stories, but I just want to confirm that. Thank you.
The building hasn't been designed yet, so whatever the maximum height that the ordinance is what we're gonna abide by.
Any other questions?
Quick little educational comment, or I'm looking for some education right here. Can you talk to me about the construction and the drop-off dance that you'll be doing essentially? I guess, how do you make sure that's going to be a safe transition where people are parking in that back parking lot and hypothetically building the brick and mortar
Yes.
building, and how you make sure and coordinate that everyone's staying safe, including the kids?
Yeah, so that's part of the DOT's MSTA requirement of providing a traffic management plan. And the traffic management plan is provided by Kimley Horn, the engineering firm that did the traffic study. So there was a traffic management plan submitted to DOT, MSTA. That is then distributed to the school, and the school's required to abide by that. We tried to provide that study prior to CO sit down make sure the staff understands what they're supposed to be doing. If they're supposed to be sending, having a training session with their teachers on who's staged where. But then once that school gets into operation, NCDOT, if there's complaints, people call NCDOT, NCDOT will visit the school. They'll probably also ask Kimley Horn to come visit the school, make sure that they're abiding by the original plan or the traffic management plan.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you again, Jeffrey Rother, Morningstar Law. At this time, we don't have any further evidence to put on. I'd like to ask the board to approve the request and issue the special use permit for the K through 8 use as proposed. I have a few concluding remarks. Particularly, we've shown through the evidence introduced through competent substantial material evidence addressing all the standards articulated in Section 4 of the UDO. I'd like to confirm that the agenda and the supporting materials have been entered into evidence, as well as the professional resumes, Mr. Kirkland's report that were provided at the outset of the meeting. Specifically, the proposed project will not materially endanger the public health or safety, will not substantially injure the value of adjoining or abutting property. It will be in harmony with the area in which it's to be located, and it is in conformity with the land use plan and other plans adopted by City Council. And to touch on briefly, to summarize the evidence, the health and safety, Mr. Overcash testified regarding the adequacy of the driveway design to accommodate vehicular stacking, in connection with the busing that is planned also, and the existing road infrastructure that's in place for traffic safety. Mr. Guadagno's testimony regarding the stormwater improvements, signage for traffic safety, and the boundary screening to mitigate noise and light intrusion. So all of the evidence shows that the public health and safety will be maintained. Mr. Kirkland testified regarding the lack of impact that schools have on adjoining or abutting property based on his paired sale analysis. So all the evidence in the record satisfies that standard. Again, Mr. Kirkland's testimony touched on harmony. Staff confirmed that there's conformance with the land use plan, and also under North Carolina law, the fact that the use is allowed under special conditions in this district is evidence alone to establish harmony. And finally, with the land use plan, staff confirmed conformity with the G2 area as well as the planning board. Mr. Guadagno's testimony about the compliance with the UDO standards, as well as that confirmation from staff in the report. So all of the applicable standards have been met. Also note that the planning board recommended approval by unanimous vote. So all of the competent substantial material evidence in the record shows that we have met the applicable requirements under the UDO for the requested special use permit. Therefore, on behalf of Mr. Hebrick and Hebrick Contracting, we respectfully ask for the issuance of the permit.
What about the inconsistency between the plan and the testimony on when the school is going to be built?
I don't actually think there was any inconsistency, and let me clarify. What Mr. Hebrick, as I understood him, just saying is that he could not commit to the trailers leaving the site after the main structure was occupied. There is a note in the site plan which requires the modulars to leave once in that phase 2. However, I think what Mr. Hebrick's testimony was is there are plans for a high school in the works. No definitive plans, but K through 12 has been approved for under the charter. He would have to come back to get plans approved, whether it's in this site, whether it's an adjacent site, or in the area to get a high school approved. What he's foreseeing is there's a possibility that those trailers could be used to house high school students. That's one option, but we would have to come back here. So I think on the ground, what he's saying is I can't definitively promise those will be gone because I might come back and ask them to be housed by the high school. But the plan that's before you today and the application that's before you for K through 8 requires through the note in the site plan, if approved, that those modulars are removed in site in phase 2. So if he wanted them to stay, he would have to come back and ask for additional.
I'll let Mr. Brown clarify, but to try to clarify this as much as possible, I thought the applicant said the note stands. He just couldn't give a time frame of when the building would be built, but the modulars would be removed when the building was occupied. Understanding that an applicant does have the ability to come back and ask for modifications through the entire process, but I thought the applicant said the note stands and the modulars would be removed when the building was occupied.
That's correct.
Okay. Any questions?
I got one for Lawson. If the traffic plan doesn't work, and we have repeated problems and DOT comes in, my understanding is with schools, the city's on the hook for any road improvements necessary at schools. Are we comfortable that if that would occur, we're not going to be responsible for road improvements?
The state law is that the city would be responsible for school traffic improvements if the applicant didn't make it.
Or we would be responsible if it was a city street. In this case, it'd be DOT that would be responsible for it. Because it's a DOT street.
Even though the property's annexed.
That's my understanding, but I think it's tied to who runs the street system. In this case, it's NCDOT.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that means they would have to be the ones to require any off-site improvements, not us. But I will add, this may be helpful. We've looked at this with other schools around what it in this reference. Typically, I'm not gonna say typically, sometimes when we have found out that there is traffic problems, all the lanes are not being used, just a single lane's being used. So if something happened, I think staff would follow up on that. I think there was statements, or the attorney can clarify, commitments that they would follow the traffic plan, which was running 2 to 3 lanes through there. Is that correct?
The traffic plan.
Internal.
Approved by DOT, correct?
I thought there was some discussion or some concerns with traffic improvements at Eastern and Woodlawn at one time that we may be responsible. But if you're saying that if it's not a city street, we're not responsible, then we only have to worry about M. Yoder and.
I defer to Mr. Brown on that, but I believe that's the case. So.
I think that is correct.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, it is a public hearing. Anybody in the audience like to speak?
Thank you.
All right.
I make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion and a second to close the public hearing. Any further discussion?
So I do want to make a comment, just because this is something that anecdotally I get comments from community members. So for the benefit of the public, I just want to make a note that it is very unique for council to be considering something regarding a school building or a school in general. Typically, our school system, our public school system, ABSS or Orange County schools, are managed by the appropriate county school board and county staff. So just wanted to make that delineation, that this charter school is a different situation in general, and that is why we are the authorizing body in this case.
Great point. And we are putting it in an area that is a little bit more remote than the school board, the county commissioners did with some of our schools on the edge of town. So this is a good move. Any further discussion?
We're voting to close the public hearing.
Yeah.
No further
All right,
discussion.
we're going to close the public hearing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
I make a motion to approve the special use permit as presented, and the motion to find that the request is both reasonable and in the public interest because it has been found that the request will not materially endanger the public health or safety, will not substantially injure the value of adjoining or abutting property, will be in harmony with the area in which it is located and will be in conformity with the land development plan or other plans officially adopted by the city of Mebane. by the
Second.
City Council.
We have a motion. We have
Second.
a second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank y'all. Let's take a 10-minute break. item on the agenda is our wharf upgrade expansion project. Mr. Franz Holt and Ms. Daphne Swartz.
Good evening. So the resolution before you this evening is for the wharf expansion project, and it's the final financing resolution for the revenue bonds, which will be secured by the revenue of the utility system. Just to refresh us from last month, to go through the figures one more time, to remind you, the total cost of the project is estimated to be 93 million, and the plan is to use the following funding sources. The bond proceeds, if you approve this resolution, will be 67.3 million of the project, and then we're also using the American Rescue Plan grant and a state-directed grant, also using our system development fees and utility fund cash. And the utility fund cash, as a reminder, is available because of the American Rescue Plan dollars that were used for revenue replacement a few years ago. So again, this resolution before you tonight is the bond order and series resolution, which will make a final determination to proceed with the financing. It approves the third supplemental trust agreement and the bond purchase agreement as substantially final, subject to minor amendments, and those two items were in your packet. And this authorizes the staff to move forward with the financing process. So the recommendation this evening is for the council to adopt the bond order and series resolution for the wharf expansion financing in the form presented. The bonds are pending the approval of this resolution. The bond sale is set for October 9th, and we expect to close on the bonds October 30th. Are there any questions about that part? Sorry.
We're going to vote on this now.
Well, Mr. Mayor, we would suggest we present both sub points for you and then you
Okay,
vote
all
on
right.
it separately.
All right.
So now Franz is going to come up.
Thank you, Daphne, Mayor, Council. Franz Holt, City Engineer. At this time, I want to introduce Mr. Andy Lovingood with McGill Associates, President of McGill Associates and Project Engineer. He's going to review the improvements with you and the bidding process and results.
Thank you, Mr. Holtz. Good evening, Mayor Hooks and City Council. Good to see you again. It's my pleasure to be here tonight. We've have a wonderful team with the city staff and this leadership of this board, and it's time for us to consider bringing a contractor to the team. This project is a expansion of the project and update of the project that you have. This as your existing plant in this location here. We are expanding the plant from 2.5 to 4 million gallons a day. It's important to understand that we're reusing as much of this plant, the old plant, as we can. Obviously, it's not sized for 6 million gallons a day, but we can repurpose it and we can use certain pieces of it. These aeration tanks can be reused as sludge and flow equalization. So those are being reused. We're adding a grit system. We're adding this is a oxidation ditch. That's a 4 million gallon a day oxidation ditch. It's 2, and you can see where we have a space for 1. So 2 plus 1 will take you to 6. Same thing with the clarifiers. This is the 2 clarifiers, and you have 1 that would take you to 6. So it's 2 plus 1 again. So those are the, this setup is a 5-stage oxidation ditch, been around a long time, it's tried and true, but it is modern technology. It brings us up to a standard that can treat nitrogen and phosphorus and pneumonia, and that's for the Jordan Lake rules. So that gives us a treatment plant that's modern in technology It also, we have a filter system. This is a denitrification filter system. It has 4 bays, and we have one ready to go for insertion to 6. So you have 2+1 on the clarifiers to go to 6. You have the 2 oxidation ditches, and plus that to go to 6. Also, the yard piping that connects all of these is ready to go to 6. The junction boxes and the flow spitters are all ready to go to 6. Even when we look at the effluent pipe, it's sized for 6. Now, the beautiful thing on this is it's all on the site where the existing plant is, and that's important because when we look at all of the sewers that are tributary to this, we don't have to pump them somewhere else. So we're able to build this on this site. And when we looked at all the alternatives, that was really the prevailing one that stood out, was this keeps us together. And that saves us money. So this plant, it expands it in this phase to 4, but you're plug and play ready to go to 6 when you need that. The wonderful thing also is that you have a discharge permit for 6 million gallons a day. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. So that's a big hurdle in itself. When you're ready, you have it. So a lot of what we're talking about tonight is that. Now, the Jordan Lake rules, as we discussed last time, this is about 1/3 of the cost of the plant, is adding those additional treatment facilities and things that allow us to be really compliant and future ready for what happens in our rules and regulations. So there is a restoration that we're doing because we're building that back on this site, a restoration of that initial investment that the town did years ago. Years ago, it was a place to build the wastewater plant, and I'm pleased that we're able to restore that investment back on this site. So that's going to be future ready for many, many years, not only for the town, but economic development and all those things. So it's a wonderful, wonderful project. I wish I could really tell you what to expect in the bidding environment. I can tell you because of I think that this was bid in September. What we're seeing because of the ARPA funds and what we're seeing because of the work that we're doing in Western North Carolina, Eastern Tennessee, and now we have another hurricane, that the prices are changing dramatically in what we're seeing in construction. So this is a bid. What we look for is we have quality contractors it's like buying a house. What's the market for that price? And so we have 4 bids that were received, each by very capable and qualified contractors. So that's a big plus. The bid environment here, it took us, we're 10% low to high, which is very good for a bid like this. It lets us understand that the contractors really were seeing the same thing on bid day. Now, why were the differences? Well, we do know that. Well, part of the reason why the differences in the $82,500 bid was that's Crowder Construction, and they have their own internal electric contractor that works with them. They perform that service themselves. The other contractors, they used an outside electrical contractor, and we recognize that that's roughly about 25% of the bid. So we understand electric is a big part of this project, all the motors and wires and things, and that's what you see in this. So we are very familiar with all of the 4 bidders. Crowder is one that we've worked with for many, many years on many projects. They're very capable. They've performed work in this same kind of project. We also looked at an opportunity to do a deduct in this, and that's for really a building, like a covering, if you will, over some of the pump stations and things. And so the deduct doesn't impact the integrity of the project, and that's good. So that's the deduct there. So the total sum of the construction bid is the $81,940,000. And in your packet, I believe you have the recommendation letter from us and the bid tab that shows those bids. And again, the arrival at the $81,940,000. So I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you, Andy. Daphna's now going to come up and speak to the capital project ordinance and budget ordinance.
Good evening again. The project budget before you is broken down into the different categories according to design and engineering, professional services and financing costs, land purchase, construction admin, construction, and then a contingency on the construction. And then the anticipated revenues, which I'd gone over as well in the resolution presentation, is from the North Carolina Department. From North Carolina, we're getting American Rescue Plan money of 11.925 million. We're getting funding from the state directed grant of 2,055,000. We're transferring 5,215,000 from the utility fund. We're transferring approximately 7 million from the utility capital reserve fund. And then the rest of the revenue for the project is coming from the bond proceeds. And so this amendment is bringing the budget up to this the full project cost.
The rate set on these bonds, or will that happen in the next 2 days?
That will happen within the next couple of days. You're welcome.
So next steps. Of course, we're hoping you will make the award tonight, tentative contract award tonight. Daphne spoke previously and gave some dates on selling of revenue bonds and LGC approval that is required. I spoke with Joel Whitford with McGill, and based on the amount of time it takes to pull the contracts together, mobilization and whatnot, he anticipates construction start would be in January of 2025, and a 3-year construction time frame ending in January 2028. Recommendations before you is for council to make a tentative award to Crowder Construction Company in the amount of $81,940,000, pending approvals from the Local Government Commission, the Division of Water Infrastructure, and the selling of revenue bonds. In addition, council adoption of the capital project ordinance amendment number 6 in the amount of $93,467,804, and adoption of the FY 24-25 budget ordinance amendment. All three of us are available, and other staff for any questions that you may have.
Any questions?
I have another comment, again, for the more so the benefit of the general public, but I think I speak for a lot of folks when I say that the past couple of weeks have reminded us just how important our city water, city sewer, road infrastructure, public works, all of these things are to our community. And while we are so thankful and grateful that we were not as negatively impacted as Western North Carolina, I did just want to say thank you for all the work that you guys have put in behind the scenes to make this happen on a multi-department head approach. And this is something that I know that we've been working on for years, and put a lot of thought and education and research into. So just wanted to say thank you.
Very well said. And we want to thank Preston for bringing McGill to Mebane.
They've been fantastic to work with.
Yeah, our friends, I think. All right, any more questions?
We do have 3 things that require action.
All right.
Mayor, it'd be 6A and then 6B voted on separately. So.
Yes. All right, we need 6A, the finance and resolution.
I move that the council adopt the bond order and series resolution in support of the WRF project financing as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
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 All right. Any opposed? Motion carries. The second one, a tentative contract award, capital project ordinance amendment, and budget ordinance amendment.
Move to adopt a resolution, tentative award amount of $81,940,000 to Crowder Construction Company contingent upon the approval of financing by the local government commission, the selling of revenue bonds, and approval of bidding documentation by NCD water infrastructure, adopting capital project budget ordinance amendment number 6 in the amount of $93,457,804, and adoption of the fiscal year 2025 budget ordinance amendment.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Mayor, Council.
All right, sewer rehab and wharf expansion appropriated funding. Kyle Smith, Utilities Director, and John Dodson, Wharf Director.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Happy to tell you that we submitted a application for appropriated funding through state reserves to aid in funding our brick sewer rehabilitation project and the wharf expansion. We have been selected to receive $2,955,000 in funding. In order to receive those fundings, a resolution must be approved by council to accept the funding. Of the $2,955,000, we'll be using $900,000 of that as matching funds for the BRIC grant, which is the Building Resilient Infrastructure and Communities grant, which we'll be lining roughly 16,800 linear feet of sewer lines and manholes. And the remainder funding of $2,055,000 will be used to aid in the wharf expansion that was previously discussed. So with that, I will open up any questions or anything you may have.
I like this kind of announcement.
Yeah, just for my own clarity, does this enable us to do something that we wouldn't normally do right now? Or does it just mean that instead of us having to pay for it out of our own funds, we get it from this?
We're able to, instead of using our own funding,
Okay.
use this. We were going to have to, for the BRIC grant, especially, I think it was $3.7 million we were going to be getting, is what we applied for. There was a match that had to be made of $900,000 to get those fundings. We did receive a draft letter a couple weeks ago, a draft agreement for the BRIC funding, so that is going to be coming before you in the near future.
Councilmember White, we'd probably say yes to all. This does allow us to do projects that probably get moved up sooner. It allows us to borrow less money for projects, and also it covers all things. It is very much a positive. So I will point out, both on this funding and others, and obviously council was heavily involved in this, but we do need to share appreciation to our General Assembly delegation that helped us acquire this or obtain this funding, or appropriated it for us, sorry.
Thank you.
So lining over a mile, 6,000 some feet?
16,800 feet. So
wow,
A
3
lot.
miles.
That's, where would that be?
All
All areas?
Yeah, we're mainly focused on some of the older areas of town, the old clay lines, the
Yeah.
vertical clay lines that were in town. The wharf outfall, the main outfall coming into the wharf, that's going to be one of the areas. The outfall going to the old 5th Street pump station, that's another area, and the outfall going to the 3rd Street pump station.
How many miles total we got? 16,000, you said we're going to reline. How many miles total do we have?
Roughly 130.
I will add, this is subject to us completing and being awarded the BRIC funding, but it has been positive up to this point. And a credit to especially Kyle and other city staff, the BRIC funding process is something we've been working on over 2 years now. So,
Wow.
Yeah, it was a 2022 funding cycle that we're working off of still.
Great job.
Excellent. Thank you, Kyle.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions? All right, we need a motion.
I make a motion that we,
You got your microphone on?
I do.
Okay.
I make a motion that we approve the 2023 Appropriations Act directed projects grant acceptance resolution.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Kyle. Thank you, John.
Good job.
All right, Public Transit Advisory Commission appointment, Ms. Omby.
With council's approval last month to enter into the interlocal agreement with the city of Burlington, we now need to appoint two individuals to serve, one as a voting member and the second as an alternate to the Public Transit Advisory Commission. That was included in the ordinance for Link Transit whenever it was established by the city of Burlington.
All right,
I'd love to be part of this if y'all would be allowed, if y'all would allow me. This is something near and dear to my heart, and the fact that we're going to be interconnecting the city more with the surrounding cities and municipalities would be fantastic. So I'd love to put my name out there as the voting member.
I make a motion to appoint Sean to that, to the Public Transit Advisory Commission as a voting member.
all right.
I'll
We have a
second.
motion and a
I'll second.
second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Sean. Yes, we need to appoint a alternate. I would suggest Montrina or Katie. Montrina's on the MPO TAC, so
Love for you to do it. But
You okay?
It's not a conflict, Lawson?
anybody else on the council on it?
Is it a conflict? Lawson?
No, ma'am.
so I'll make a motion, I'll make a motion to appoint Montrina Hadley as our alternate member.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. ABC board appointment. That's going to be a lot of people wanting to get on that.
We did
Mr.
have,
Brown,
We had two applicants, and the applicant we're recommending is the chair of the ABC, Alamance County ABC Board. So if y'all will take appropriate action.
well, Chip's the chairman.
I make a motion to reappoint Chip Fushi as the city's member to the local ABC board. But I also would just like to acknowledge Tori's great contributions to our city in so many ways. And I hope that there would be other opportunities for him to serve in some capacity along these lines. And I hate to not appoint him, but Chip has been a stellar member on this committee and he deserves to stay.
We have a motion for Chip Fushi.
Second.
Got a second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chip gets the thing.
Very well said, Jonathan.
Presentation of draft council meeting calendar, Mr. Mitchell.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. This is no action tonight, but we did want to get the calendar out early. We are talking about some additions to our budget process, but also we have several projects going on with January 6th fast approaching. We need to schedule, so no action needed tonight, but council can obviously tonight or in the coming weeks give us feedback if there needs to be any adjustments on these dates. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Stephanie, can you email us that single sheet? Be easier to track.
All right, the number 11, closed session. I need a motion to go in closed session.
No move.
We have a motion.
Second.
We have a second.
We need a reason for that. It's to
No,
discuss.
already
the-
right there. So-
Uh,
The thing, John, he can say it. Pending litigation pursuant to NCGS 143-318.11A3.
And that litigation is the writ of certiorari appeal to Superior Court of the decision on the McDonald's on the Food Line Shopping Center on the north side of town.
No move.
Tom knew that, and we didn't.
Second.
We'll be back. All right, thank you. We need a motion to come out of closed session.
I make a motion that we come out of closed session and back into our open session.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
I make a motion that the city agree to resolve the Outparcels LLC appeal of the denial of the McDonald's drive-through restaurant by the city's issuance of the permits for the same by consent order of the court on the basis of the applicants waiving any right to costs and attorneys.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
Just to, I guess for the purposes of clarification, the Austin,
Yes.
your opinion is that legally we would not be successful in winning this appeal.
That is correct. I think the case law would compel the judge to rule in the applicant's favor and remand it back here. As part of this settlement, the applicant has agreed not to seek attorney fees or costs that they would otherwise be entitled to if they were successful in court. So we're saving city resources.
And for the benefit of public understanding, it is going to be the same site plan as presented initially from the applicant.
That is correct.
All right, we've got a motion. We've already voted on it, right? No, we got a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, remember 2024 early voting coming up. If it was larger, I could tell you when. Downtown Mebane Halloween Spooktacular, and it's going to snow in Mebane. All right, and then there's the other special events that are coming up that you can see on the board. Katie, yeah, Katie's got a.
Just one quick note, we have our second Citizens Academy meeting is this Thursday. We will be meeting with our Mebane Fire Department, and we will be at the training tower located at the Public Works Complex, and that'll be at 6:30. And folks can still sign up for Citizens Academy. Enrollment is not capped.
The whole meeting is at the training tower?
Yeah, it's a field trip.
Okay, good. Any other business to come before the council? If not, motion to
Thanks.
Adjourn.
Motion to.
It's difficult to see your staff come in.